Should we start with our game of the month?
Yeah, remind us what it was, Giles.
It was a good point, James. It was Still Wakes the Deep, which officially is a return to first person narrative horror genre for the Chinese Room developers of Dear Esther and Everyone's Gone to Rapture and a couple of others. Set on an oil rig, fighting for your life through a vicious storm, perilous surroundings, and the dark, freezing North Sea waters. All lines of communication have been severed, all exits are gone. All that remains is to face the unknowable horror that's come aboard. So what did you think of this one, James?
Yeah, it was very wet and windy, so all those
Yeah.
things are definitely true. And it was definitely set on a rig in the North Sea, so all accurate. No, I really enjoyed it as a starter. That would be my tagline. Really enjoyed it. If I was writing reviews, the voice acting was very good. Very much enjoyed the
Mm.
voice acting. Obviously, most of the people were Scottish in it, and they swore an awful lot, as Scottish people tend to do. No offence. So every other word was effing and blinding and all sorts in a Scottish accent, which is quite fun, wasn't it? There were some emotional moments in it. There was some lots of drama. There was definitely some excessive peril. Wasn't even not even mild peril. It's definitely peril in the
Mm.
extreme in some places. Even the outdoor bits where it was wet and windy and you were trying to crawl along planks and escape from stuff, and there was lots of running away from stuff sequences, which are quite genuinely quite tense, which is nice. The ending was nice, emotional, and slightly unexpected. Almost similar to the TV show The Rig, which was on a couple of years ago. A lot of it seemed to
Mm.
be very similar to that one in terms of supernatural stuff on a rig in the North Sea with lots of Scottish people. So kind of felt like I'd sort of watched a version of it before playing it. But yeah, overall, yeah, really good game. Definitely sort of an 8.5, 9 out of 10 type game. Very enjoyable, good acting, good plot. Nice. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen the rig, and that's really
Oh,
interesting because they're based in Brighton, despite the name. And I wonder, as developers, I'd imagine they'd have been developing it long before the show came out,
hmm.
or maybe a bit before the show came out, depending on the timing. But I wonder if they were pleased or annoyed by the fact that that had released, because it does sound like the obviously the concept, the
Hmm.
location is the same, but there's more in common, isn't there, than that?
Yeah.
Having looked a bit into it, yeah, I loved it honestly. Similar comments to you really in terms of thought the acting was brilliant, very sweary. My initial comments probably cannot be printed, so I'll edit myself before posting my actual review, which will be up on the website hopefully fairly
Ah,
soon. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought this was always likely to be my sort of thing. I enjoy a sort of story-based walking simulator type thing, but actually it's, I thought, a lot more action-packed than I was expected. There was a lot
yeah.
more interaction. You mentioned sort of sneaking or edging your way along a sort of perilous structure. There's lots of crawling around in sort of tight, what are they called, air vents. Very much reminiscent of John McClane in Die Hard, I think. I sort of thought to myself a few times, and come out to the oil rig, we'll get together, have a few laughs. It felt very, very much a Die Hard and Alien tribute, and it had elements of that, but also some of the classic kind of disaster movies like Poseidon Adventure. Definitely with all that sort of wind and water around, it felt very perilous. Yeah, I thought the big thing, just to add, I think, to what you said, was the real sense of place.
Hmm.
So I really love the fact I've never been on an oil rig. I assume you
Yeah.
haven't, but I might be wrong.
Not often.
Uh, not often. And but I think it's a strange place, isn't it? It must be a really odd place to live and work for however long you're out there. And it really, I thought, gave that sense of what it must be like, kind of in the middle of nowhere, battered by the elements. Even before things all go to hell in a handbasket, it was kind of a strange place. You know, your work colleagues sort of become your adopted family because it's set at Christmas. So there's this
Hmm.
kind of half-assed Christmas decoration celebration going on. You kind of think, yeah, this just there's sort of remnants of kind of dart leagues and all these different kind of games that are keeping these people trying to keep themselves entertained where they're in the middle of the North Sea. And from the little cups placed in, on desks, the trinkets and memorabilia just really felt like a believable place. It felt really physical as well. I think the sound did really well to bring that out, the clanking and the kind of the sort of howling of the wind, the clanking of the metal when you first step out onto the deck. I just felt absolutely battered by it. So, really enjoyed it. And I think couldn't have been really much more different from our game from last month, Animal Well. But it's something I was looking forward to and still a nice surprise, which was good. So, I will have my review up soon.
I think there are some similarities with Animal Well because it's very dark and dingy and claustrophobic in parts. So, if you suffer from claustrophobia, you wouldn't enjoy the game at all because lots of it is crawling through dark tubes. Also, I generally had a bit of peril in the underwater swimming parts as well. I thought that was particularly unpleasant, where you had to get to a certain part before you died of drowning. Air deprivation, whatever you want to call it. Definitely drowning, probably. So that was quite intense as well. But like you said, you definitely felt like you were there as you turned every corner. You could see. It definitely felt like you were on a rig. And like I said, I've never been on a rig, and the game probably wouldn't encourage me to go on a rig for the first time. It's probably put me off rigs for life. Yeah. If I had to give a negative, which I don't, but I will anyway. I thought the monsters were a bit samey. It would have been nice. It would have been nice to have a bit of variation on the monsters. They're all kind of giant, blobby, spider, long-legged things that sort of come after you. And the first time was very scary because you've not seen a monster like that in many games. But I thought the next time around it would have been nice to see something a little bit different. That was my only negative. So good game. Yeah. It took a lot longer to finish than I expected. I expected it to be about 4 hours, and I managed to drag it out for like 8 hours. No idea how, as always. But again, as always, I ballsed it up because I played it on the PC because all my Game Pass games I play on the PC version of Game Pass because the Xbox is in Joshua's bedroom at the moment, and it'd be a bit rude me playing on an oil rig in the middle of the night in his bedroom. Bless him. So I play under the stairs in my little dungeon on my PC. And annoyingly, if you don't set up the resolution correctly, then everything feels a little bit off. And I didn't realise until I got a long way into the game that everything was a little bit off. So there's a little sequence where you had to mash a button in order to release yourself on a monster. And in the screen resolution I was playing it, you couldn't mash a button. It didn't register the button clicks quickly enough to be mashable. So I had to change the screen resolution well down to normal HD from whatever I was on, and then it worked fine. So I realised that my jumps and running away and everything wasn't quite as accurate as normal because the button wasn't responding quickly enough to stuff. So there you go. So if you're doing that in the future on a PC, make sure you set it to the sensible screen resolution. Thank you. A fine
tip. And I think PC gaming has come a long way. It's a lot more accessible. I use a ROG Ally, which is pretty much like a handheld console. Until you come across stuff like that, and how would you possibly know that that's the reason? Assuming it's not just an excuse and you're already slow and crouching. But, we're going to gloss over that.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So another game of the month that feels like a good choice, and hopefully we'll continue that into next month.
Yes, we should find out later, won't we, Josh?
We shall find out later, if I remember, because it's not on the running list. So, there it is. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.